The maiden moon hung like a broken sickle above the jagged crown of the giant's lance, its pale light tracing silver upon the ancient battlements of the eyrie. Chill wind rattled through arrow slits and murmured along marble corridors. But within the high hall of the Arryns, the hush was deeper still. A silence dense as snowfall, pressed hard against the heartbeats of those gathered in Lady Lysa's presence. She sat upon the slender throne of white weirwood, her back straight despite a weariness that clung to every careless breath. The deep blue mantle clasped at her shoulders pooled down the steps like moon-stirred water, and when she lifted one trembling hand, the sapphires at her wrist winked like distant stars. Shadows tangled across her face. In their wavering, she seemed at once a frightened girl and an iron-willed widow, all ice and secrets. A single torch guttered at the hall's center, shedding thin fumes of pine tar into the frigid air. The warmth was scant, yet sweat beaded upon Maester Coleman's brow as he waited below the dais. The maester's chain, each link forged of lead, iron, and bronze, felt suddenly heavier than the mountain itself. He dared a glance beside him at Sir Vardis Egan, who stood rigid in mail, moon-hunt falcon surcoat stirring at his knees, pale eyes fixed upon nothing at all. The Knight of the Gates had faced outlaw clans and the treacherous passes of the high road. Yet here he looked uneasy, as though some invisible precipice loomed just before his feet. Farther down the steps, Lord John Royce shifted, armor creaking softly, bronze rings etched with ancient runes catching firelight that was not there. His broad face might have been hewn from the same stone that framed the bloody gate. Solemn, weather-scarred, and eternal. Yet even bronze Yon's patience frayed in the long moment before Lady Lysa's thin voice spilled into the chamber. "The raven has flown," she said, words brittle as hoarfrost. "My sister writes from Winterfell that Eddard Stark rides south to accept the Hand's Chain. He cages himself among lions." Her lips parted, then tightened against tremor. "I will not wait for the roar." Lord Jan inclined his dark-haired head, brows lowering like portcullis. "What is it you would have of the Vale, my lady?" Lysa's gaze swept over those assembled. Her captains, her bannermen, the flickering silhouettes of her son's protectors, and settled upon the empty air beyond them, as though she watched phantoms only she could see. "John trusted the Starks," she whispered. "My lord husband bled to bring Robert to his throne, and now the Lannisters coil near, all claws hidden in silk. I have sent Catelyn my love, but love is not shield nor spear." She rose. The motion was slow, deliberate, like winter sunrise inching over a still world. "We will steal our love with swords." A murmur rose and died. Coleman felt his stomach pitch. Here was the decision knights of uneasy counsel had circled, never daring to alight. Lord John's widow, who had so long shrunk from the realm, who sealed her son behind impregnable heights, now spoke open war. Bronze Yon's voice broke the hush, resonant as horn. "The Knights of the Vale stand ready, should my lady call." He glanced toward the stars and suns. Horton Redfort, Nestor Royce, young Sir Lyn Corbray in dusk-black plate, and saw grim assent in their faces. Lysa Arryn's fingers splayed upon the edge of the weirwood throne. Beside her slumbered young Lord Robert, cheeks flushed with innocent dreams, unaware that his mother weighed the fates of thousands. "Then hear me," she said. "We ride before the game begins. Before Ned Stark is seized by plots I taste already in black wings and closed doors. Ser Vardis shall marshal the Erie's garrison. Lord Royce will muster the banners at Gulltown and Runestone. Every knight, free to ride, will descend the high road within 10 sunrises." Ser Vardis cleared his throat, words grave. "The clansmen prey upon the passes, my lady. Heavy losses are certain on the high slopes, even with guides and scouts." "We ride regardless," Lysa returned, thin shoulders squared. "A price must be paid, and we will not purchase our doom by cowering behind sky and cloud." Coleman felt cold sweat trace his spine. 10 sunrises to assemble an army, breach mountain passes in spring thaw, and march into the riverlands. Such haste belonged to bards' tales, not the slow grind of feudal levy. Yet in Lady Lysa's eyes blazed a necessity that silenced all argument. Only Sir Lyn Corbray smiled, resting one gauntleted fist upon the pommel of Lady Forlorn. "Steel sings sweet in southern fields," he said, voice a whisper of eager steel. "Let us give the song a falcon's high refrain." The maester longed to speak prudence, supplies, hostages, royal law. But the words choked behind his teeth. In the hush a lone cinder popped. The torch spat sparks that wheeled and faded like little lives snuffed too soon. "Then it is done," Lady Lysa said. "By my virtue as regent of the Vale, in my son's name." She lowered herself upon the throne once more. "The nights shall be the falcon's talons. We strike swift, we strike true, and the realm will remember that the Eyrie is no nest for prey." Namamu. Bronze Jan knelt, plate clanging upon pale marble. One by one the Vale captains followed, the susurrus of mail a prayer of iron. Only after they vowed did Lysa's composure wane, shoulders sinking as though the mountain wind had hollowed her bones. The maester saw the cost etched in the quivering of her chin. But the order stood, etched now upon the history of men and gods alike. Dawn bled pink across the fingers when the first ravens beat southward, their cause scattering gulls from spray-slick rocks below Gulltown's towering bluff. Dockhands paused mid-haul to watch black wings slash morning air. An old septon at the harbor gate bowed his bald head, whispering 7 small prayers. None knew the messages born, but in every corner of the city talk soon stirred. The Lady of the Eyrie called banners. The bronze of runestone marched, and the sky itself seemed to brood. Mules brayed among stacks of cedar planks, portsmen cursed over spilling sailcloth, and within the inner bailey of Coldwater burned the herald of House Royce, unfurled its rune-stamped bronze disc in the crisp light. Horton Redfort, silvered temples stark against his youth-tanned face, read the letter by torch yet unquenched, and felt the earth tip beneath him. 20 years he had served Bronze Jan. Never had he seen orders penned so swiftly, signed in Lady Lysa's bold, slanted hand. All Redfort's levies west of Green Route were to ride within 3 days, provisions for 30, destination plain. Bronze Jan commands. Cross the bloody gate at dawn on the 10th day of the lion's moon. Horton called for his steward, his smiths, his farm scribes. Along cold valley roads the word unfurled like banner cloth in spring gale. Small folk left plow and chisel. Lords gathered retainers, grain stores swung open. The Vale quiet through Robert's long reign and Greyjoy's short rebellion, now awakened to the cymbal clash of war. Snow still clung to knife-sharp ridges when the first columns gathered beneath the looming stones of the bloody gate. Bronze Jan rode at their head, great-helmed and stern, the ancient runes of his armor gleaming dully in gray dawn. Beside him, Servardus bore House Arryn's sky-blue banner. Behind thundered 1,000 hooves, each step an echo of bronze prophecy. Lines of horse stretched far along the winding switchbacks, molded ragged by slope and stone pinch. Over each knight's shoulder slung round shield of sky blue and falcon white. Pennants of House Hunter, Harding and Corbray snapped in the thin air. Atop his great courser marble, Sir Lyn laughed aloud whenever the path edged near sheer drop, daring both mountain and fate with the tilt of his dark head. That morning Bronze Jan paused before the towering arch, water-streaked granite older than Andal's, and let his gaze linger upon basalt faces carved in a forgotten age. Grim warriors who forever guarded the pass. He raised his visor, breathed the biting air. "We leave the sky for soil," he murmured. "Let soil prove worthy." Servardus nodded once. A horn sounded, low and resonant. Gates groaned aside, iron shod with ice. The Vale Knights began their descent. 3 days later, smoke curled above the foothills where the first skirmish found them. The burned men struck at twilight, voices howling up canyon walls. Spears rattled against old shields sworn to no lord but hunger. Yet they met a shield wall of ash-scarred oak and bronze-edged axes. Sir Morin Moore's pikemen held the gorge's narrow floor while Yon's riders swept along shale slopes, catching raiders between hammer and anvil. The clash was swift, the cries shorter still. When it passed, 12 Vale men lay dead, amid near 50 clansmen. The survivors fled into mist, leaving charred sigils at night's edge, but the road was stained. Grief and dread rode in the army's wake, but so did sober resolve. The wounded were bound upon litters. The dead were laid in cairns of grey stones, their names recited beneath the starlight that knows every secret and keeps none. And then, as dawn cracked pale upon the ridges, the host marched once more. By the time they reached the riverlands, the army had swollen. Sir Jasper Wainwood, joined with 400 spears near the Green Fork, followed 2 dawns later by banners of Coldwater and Belmore. Lord Grafton sailed a swift galley round Maiden's Neck to salt pans, offloading crossbowmen and pikes whose silver falcon sigils gleamed beneath crusts of salt. They moved as the first green shoots of spring pierced wet loam. Peasants working levees near the Trident stared as shining helms passed like a bright tide. Word scattered ahead. The Vale rode, and rumors twined behind. Some said Lady Arryn meant to claim the Iron Throne for her sickly son. Others, that she would avenge Lord Joan's death upon Lannister Gold. In inn-yards and sept gardens, talk burned hotter than hearth fires, stoked by uncertainty. But among the host itself, purpose hardened. They crossed the Tumblestone on trestle bridges, strung in a single feverish night by Grafton's shipwrights. They bivouacked beside the Green Fork, where alder trees shed husks of catkins into rippling water. Each morning, Bronzion's trumpets called, and men rose, armored, mounted, and rode. Still, no raven flew to intercept them from King's Landing. No royal banner blocked the path. It was as though the South remained blind to the Falcon's descent. Yet watchers in dark cloisters of the Red Keep marked each rumor, each trembling merchant's tale. Varys collected whispers in silk-gloved hands and laid them before the Iron Throne, where Queen Cersei's green eyes narrowed to serpent slits. Lord Renly laughed lightly, yet watched the Queen with covert unease. The council argued supply, pretext, and risk, but one truth sat heavy upon each tongue. The Vale stirred, and the Hand's departure from Winterfell grew ever nearer. On a still spring night, while torches guttered along the mudgate, and the moon nursed its own silence, Sir Jaime Lannister stood upon the parapets, golden hair stirring. He looked east, beyond black waters of the Blackwater Rush, as though he might glimpse ghostly lines of knights winding out of distant hills. He flexed fingers about sword hilt, and for once the Kingslayer felt less weary than waiting. Yet still the host marched, crossing into the red fields of the western riverlands, as apple blossoms burst in orchard rows. At Acorn Hall, Lady Smallwood welcomed Bronzion beneath gnarled branches heavy with white petals. She offered bread and salt and a dozen casks of her apple wine, but when she begged the host linger for a moose turn, the roads beyond teem with fray levies and worse, Jon Royce refused. "We ride quicker than malice can tangle," he told her. "Our speed is our armor." In the quiet of that night, as campfires winked along shallow ridges, Maester Coleman kept his quills scratching. Raven cages rattled behind him. Messages hungry to fly. He recorded lists of grain, barrels of salted pork, casks exhausted and yet to be found. He wrote of casualties, of fever cases, of narrow escapes along broken bridges. Yet in the margins he scrawled fears. If Lord Stark does not welcome us, what then? Outside his tent, Sir Lynn's laughter rose, bright and sharp as shards of obsidian. Coleman shivered, dipped quill once more. The sight of Riverrun's triple walls across the Tumblestone stirred whispers that even knights dared not muzzle. The castle sat like a stone ship upon river tethers, banners of Tully silver trout rippling above crimson and blue. Lord Hoster lay dying within those halls, yet war brewed beyond them. The Freys straddled the twins with jealous eyes, and Lannister patrols harassed villages north of the Gold Road. It was at Riverrun that Bronzion decreed a halt, the first full halt since leaving the Vale. Camps sprawled along riverside meadows, black maned chargers drank deep from green water, and smithies rang night and day. Lady Catelyn Stark, pale with fatigue, came forth beneath the trident banner to meet the host that flew her sister's falcon. She embraced Lord Royce, tears bright. "I feared the Eyrie had turned entirely inward," she confessed. "To see you here, there are no words." Yet worry clung to her every sentence. Her lord father's health failed. Her husband rode south. Alone, she had thought. And now the Vale knights massed without clear cause. Around a war map within Riverrun's great hall, Bronzeon set forth Lady Lysa's writ. Caitlin listened, cheeks hollowing as the tale unfolded. She would strike first, Cat whispered. Gods, Eddard must be warned. Such sudden strength might brand him traitor in the eyes of the crown. Sir Robin Ryger argued for immediate river crossing to join Stark forces at Harrenhal, rumor placing them there within a fortnight. Sir Carol Vance counseled sending riders to King's Landing instead, a show of safe escort for Lord Stark. Voices layered upon one another until Caitlyn's hands rose for calm. My lord husband must know his allies' move, she said. No host marches so far in secrecy, but we cannot blind the realm with fear. We will send swift riders to the hand, bearing the falcon and trout entwined. The main strength remains here, where supplies may reach us and Lannister eyes stay wary. Thus was it decided. 100 picked riders under Sir Lyn would continue along the King's Road, cloaked as merchants where they could, steel naked when they must. Bronzeon would winter his strength beside Riverrun's walls, drilling and foraging, awaiting word. If Ned Stark called, the falcon would answer in a storm of wings. Sir Lyn's company departed at dawn, hooves drumming soft sodden earth, their swift river-built horses casting up dew. Bronzeon stood upon Riverrun's eastern wall, helm beneath one arm, gray hair streaming. He watched until the riders shrank to moats beyond field hedges, and when at last only dust sketched the horizon, he breathed deeply of river air. They vanish, swift as dreams, he muttered. Maester Coleman, perched to his left, clutched robe against rising wind. Dreams shape kingdoms, he said, though softly, unsure whether he spoke truth or comfort. The Lord turned, eyes as old as runes etched across his bronze. Ay, he said, yet they leave us waking, still bound to earth. Pray the earth chooses kindly, Maester. He strode away, cloak snapping. Coleman remained, gaze wandering across Tumblestowe's sparkling coil. Somewhere ahead, Ned Stark rode toward webs unseen. Somewhere behind, the Ares' cold halls waited for tidings. Between the lay hosts, schemes, and the slow ferment of fate, the Maester closed his eyes and felt the wind, fierce and chill, borne all the way from the mountain heights he had left behind. It seemed still to carry the cries of snow geagles wheeling above the eyrie. Warning or promise, he could not say. Night deepened, studded by cold stars mirrored in the Tumblestowe's black ribbon. Fires dotted the camp like scattered embers of a fallen hearth god, and in each cluster men spoke of wives and wagers, of kings and betrayal, of omens glimpsed in curling smoke. Above them, Riverrun's towers loomed, sentinel to a realm trembling on unseen brink. In a tent of heavy wool stitched with moon-white thread, Bronzeon bent over a fresh-inked raven scroll, sealing his missive to Lady Lysa with a dollop of blue wax. We have come to the river, it read. The next bend may flood or reveal tranquil banks. I await your word and Lord Stark's counsel. He pressed the seal hard, as though certainty might be forged by force of hand. Outside, the night was long, and the roads longer still. Yet the falcon had flown from its eyrie at last, and all the realm would soon hear the beating of its wings. Far south, in the tiled corridors of the Red Keep, a pale spider listened to a dockmaster's whispered dread. 1,000 knights of the Vale encamped at Riverrun. Varys smiled with gentle melancholy as one might behold a storm gathering over parched fields. Elsewhere, Queen Cersei's goblet cracked in her grip, red wine sluicing down gloved fingers like fresh blood. She summoned her brother with eyes alight, and Jaime came, golden and curious. The storm she saw in rumor's mirror teased her lips with equal parts fear and desire. And on the wide King's Road beyond the Blackwater, Ned Stark rode, still unaware that the Talon's shadow descended, swift, unexpected, and inexorable as winter itself. Aka. River mists folded like gray silk across the King's Road, as Sir Lyn Corbray's vanguard pressed south, their lamplit breath-wreathing helms with frost. The company rode lean and light, 100 knights and mounted sergeants, 60 spare remounts, 4 carts laden with smoked mutton, flatbread, and whetstones. Mail glimmered beneath wool mantles, dyed the slate blue of dawn. Each man bore a falcon badge tied with rivergrass cord, easy to sever if stealth demanded secrecy. On the 11th night, a drizzle slicked the road, turning ruts to sucking mud. Sir Lynn, Rhined Lady Forlorn's dappled charger beside the nearest cart, and sliced a tarp free. Rain hissed against his black plate, flowing in rivulets across the narrow mirror of his visor. "We make camp in those pines," he said, voice muffled inside steel but sharp as the sword bearing his ancestors' grief. "No fires till morning. The king's forest keeps many eyes." Nan. They sheltered among trunks older than Andal's, blankets strung beneath low boughs. Water dripped from needles and steady ticks. Wet leather creaked, horses stamped, and whispers found small spaces between. Sir Lynn prowled the perimeter like a midnight cat, checking sentries, tracing deep gouges of boar across soft loam, listening to the quiet strains of a distant brook. To some he gave sardonic nods, to others a wry grin of wolfish delight. Battle waited at the road's end, and few things in all the wide world delighted Lynn Corbray more. At dawn, they broke cover to find fog risen thick as sheared wool. Hooves splashed through puddles reflecting white trunks and gray sky. They passed hunters leading strings of flayed rabbits, a tinker with cracked pans clanging against axle, a septon trundling a squeaking cart painted with faded lilies of the mother. To each, Sir Lynn lifted a gloved hand in courteous salute, letting the illusion hold. A passing patrol, nothing more. Yet one hunter noted silver falcons beneath rain-spattered cloaks, and by sundown rumor had flown ahead like a raven. Knights of the Vale slipped through Crownland's coppice. By the morrow eve such whispers perched upon ale-sticky tables in Duskendale, and from there took wing along the coast to Rosby and Stokeworth. Within the Red Keep's hidden hearthroom, Varys accepted a sheet of cipher from his little birds and read in quietude, expression touched by something like sympathy. He folded the parchment, fed it to blue coals, and breathed the fragrant curl of smoke. The queen must be told, and told gently. Lions were never so quick to lash as when prodded by shadows. Beyond the keep, King Robert practiced spear casts across a private field above the river, sweat shining down florid cheeks. With every grunt he hurled boar-barbed irons at straw men shaped like white stags, cursing when half skidded wide. Lord Renly clapped politely, though each cast strayed farther, and when Robert's arm drooped, Renly suggested mulled wine and venison shanks waiting in the solar. The king's scowl dissolved at the thought of spiced fat and sweet drink. Renly hid his unease behind an easy smile. One letter from Lysa Arryn had reached him weeks prior, cryptic and raw. Yet he'd dismissed it as a widow's ghosts. Now fresh reports spoke of a host at River Run, and riders loose upon royal roads. Ned Stark would arrive within days to take up the hand's chain, he who ever wore duty upon his brow like snow upon Winterfell's roofs. Could Stark reign Lady Arryn's fervor? Renly meant to discover before his sister-in-law's fears melted into wildfire. Along the King's Road, Ned Stark's own party pushed south under banners of direwolf and crowned stag combined, borrowed guards of the royal escort sharing saddle lines with Winterfell men. Lord Benjen's absences at the wall had left Eddard short of his snowbound retinue. Thus his company was lean, 30 men strong, though their loyalty weighed more than host of Sellsword. The journey wore a quiet dread he could not shake. Dreams plagued Ned's sleep. Jon Arryn gasping words he could not hear. A falcon falling blood-striped across a sky paling to ash. In waking hours he watched his daughters chatter near the wagons. Sansa twining songs of courtly splendor, Arya scowling at talk of dancing masters, and beneath paternal warmth beat a hollow caution. Catelyn's last letter from Winterfell had spoken of Bran's laughter chasing pups through Godswood snow. Now dispatches grew faint, only brief lines assuring his health. Ned trusted his lady wife as he trusted the old gods. Yet worry pressed cold fingers to his heart whenever ravens took flight behind him. On the 13th morning, they met a patrol from Rosby, lances shining with dew. The captain bore a sealed scroll of royal vermilion. Ned cracked the wax within his tent. Cursive lines in Grand Maester Pacel's trembling hand bade the hand designate hasten, for the king grew restless and the council fractious. Nothing of Vale riders, nothing of Lysa, nothing of airy banners rumored to gather like storm clouds. Ned frowned and sanded the parchment, thoughts nodding. That evening, when moon-silver limned jagged hedgerows, a lone horseman emerged from shrubbery beyond the night watch lines, cloak striped in dust and mud. Sir Jory Castle blocked his path, sword half drawn, but the stranger lifted gloved hand in the sign of peace and whispered a passphrase known only to Winterfell's sworn swords. Jory led him into Ned's quiet pavilion, where candles threw soft gold upon fur-lined walls. The rider knelt and pushed back hood to reveal dark eyes gleaming like onyx beneath lank brown hair. He laid a small satchel of oiled leather at Ned's boots. "Sir Lyn Corbray sends words swift as ravens, my lord," the courier rasped. "His riders shadow the royal road, but dare not approach the city without your sanction." Ned's surprise smoldered into hard concern. He bade the man rise, offered wine, and opened the satchel. Inside lay 2 letters sealed with Arryn Falcon, one for him, one for Catelyn. He read by candle flicker. Lysa's hand urgent, Bronzeon's steadier. Both spoke of Lannister plots. A falcon wings spread to shield the hand before claws snared him. When he finished, Ned stared long into the taper's flame. If the Vale host advanced unbidden, the crown would cry treason. Yet if Lysa's fears proved true, delaying them could doom his cause before it began. He dismissed the courier with fresh horses and a writ commanding Sir Lyn to hold east of the Antlers, until Ned sent further word. Alone, he poured summer wine he scarcely tasted, and stood before the tent's open flap. Above, the sky bore a thin rim of moon. Faint constellations of winter lingered on the far horizon, reluctant to cede season. "She means well," he murmured to still air, as though Jon Arryn's shade lingered close. But swords unsheathed, too early cut friend and foe alike. In the distance, wolves howled, a long, lonesome cry. They sounded far from their northern hills, yet kindled ache beneath Ned's ribs. He drained the cup, set it aside, and gazed south, where torchlit smudge hinted at the walls of King's Landing. Duty called him into a pit of vipers. Now a falcon circled overhead, talons poised to snatch or tear. Back at River Run, rain hammered slate roofs in endless roar. Lord Hoster's breaths rattled like stirred embers while Catelyn knelt at his bedside, cool cloth upon his fevered brow. She whispered childhood memories and songs of the trident's mirrored moons, but his eyes saw only mists of half-forgotten love. Outside those dim chambers, Bronzeon Royce oversaw drills along river flats, his deep voice booming over clank of mailed fists and hiss of blunted blades. The host swelled daily. Small companies from Frey bannermen unswayed by Walder's brittleness arrived seeking alliance. Dane mercenaries wandering north after drought harvests took coin and oath alike. Each dawn Jon revised rosters, ration ledgers, farrier schedules. The maester from the Eyrie recorded it all, quill scratching like raven claws. Numbers hardened him. Near 8,000 men-at-arms now, half again knights, but their food stores thinned. The riverlands stood scarred by last season's poor yield. To feed the falcon, Bronzeon must purchase grain from Taroshi traders at salt pans, coin drawn on thin silver of Gulltown mines. Every odious logistic whispered reminder. Armies starved more often than they died by sword. Catelyn convened councils thrice a week beneath high-arched ceilings of River Run's great hall. Nor did she hide behind her father's failing name. In carved chair flanked by trout banners, she sought sense between soldiers and scribes. She listened to Tully veterans who had seen Eris fall, to Mallister captains who swore Lannisport fleets harassed Narber's Hook, to Edmure's fiery counsel that River Run should strike first at the Lion. Bronzeon's reserved demeanor met Edmure's heat with cool stone. Supply lines over the mountains already strain, he said one gray dusk while wind chased raindrops through shutter gaps. A march west invites disaster until we know Stark's will. Edmure paced. Rain dripped from ends of his copper hair. The crown holds Lord Stark's loyalty, but what of the Queen? If Cersei moves on our road as her father moved on ours in ages past, we'll find the fight at our very gate." Jon folded hands atop the table, then let her waste Lannister blood on Tully stone. "Better defense than ruin upon strange fields." Catelyn raised a palm, silencing reply. "My husband will soon reach King's Landing. We must trust his judgment. Until his raven flies, the Vale's steel remains sheathed." An uneasy pause filled the shadowed hall. Outside, thunder boomed like distant kettle drums. In the city of King's Landing itself, the gutters overflowed with spring stormwash. Yet markets bustled under dripping awnings, and the street of steel rang true with new coin from arriving noble retinues. Word that Eddard Stark would swear his hand stirred hopes of temperance among small folk. Less wine-soaked nights of a king prowling brothels. More silver for bread. On the morning the northern party entered at the Lion Gate, common eyes found little pageantry. No golden parade, only rain-damped banners slapping against sodden wind. Yet the direwolf did stir murmurs. Whispers followed the pale sigil through twisting lanes, some calling Ned the king's truest friend, others naming him traitorous cuckoo come to roost. Inside the keep, Robert greeted Ned with rough embrace and knock of antlered helm upon Ned's damp shoulder. Cersei's smile was thin as reed behind the king, green eyes glinting as if secret flame burned within. The children bowed, Joffrey with sullen precision, Myrcella with shy courtesy, Tommen wide-eyed and plump of cheek. Ned's gaze lingered on the older boy, hair bright gold, chiseled chin a mirror of the Queen's Lannister blood. The hand kept his counsel. That night the council feasted. Roast duck swam in orange glaze, honeyed beets glittered like rubies, and Dornish red warmed every throat. Pycelle droned of tariffs owed. Renly quipped that a Dornish princess had offered him better vintage the year prior. Ned drank sparingly, noting how Sir Barristan's eyes never left the Queen, how Littlefinger's smile sharpened each time wine splashed into Cersei's goblet. At feasts, Varys escorted Ned through a lesser corridor perfumed with honeysuckle. He spoke in velvet undertones of burdens, born and secrets heavier than stone. "I pray your lordship found King's Landing welcoming despite the rain," he murmured. "It must thrive," Ned said, "rain nor shine." "Wise." Varys paused near a painted niche depicting Rhaenys Targaryen astride Meraxes. "I trust whispers have reached your ears of Vale banners stirring?" "They have." Ned's voice cooled. "You seem uniquely informed." The eunuch inclined his shaven head. "I serve the realm. Rumor says 8,000 knights camp at River Run, and a dangerous 100 ride within a day's march of these walls. Sworn, I understand, to your good lady's sister." Ned crossed arms. "Sir Lyn's company will wait upon my word. No blades threaten the crown. Thus far." Varys spread soft hands. "Yet our queen hears the faintest clatter and sees rebellion glinting like wildfire. A gentle word from the hand could temper fear. Mandarin, I will speak it." Ned left the eunuch beneath the painted dragon and strode into cooler stone labyrinth, heart hammering guide. To shield Robert from worry would be one task, to shepherd Cersei's paranoia another. 2 leagues north of the Antlers, Sir Lyn's riders lurked within an abandoned shepherd's holdfast, stacked wagons forming makeshift walls. Watchfires burned low and smokeless behind straw-top screens. The Crownland's air smelled of brine and pine sap. Gulls wheeled overhead in raucous circuits. Scouts returned at dusk, reporting Lannister outriders probing lanes between Rosby and the King's Wood. No more than a score. Lynn smiled as though at a jest. "A polite warning," he told Sir Dickon Templeton, who warmed hands above fireless coals. "They know we're here, we know they watch." A dance begun, waiting the first flourish of steel. Templeton tugged damp gloves. "If Stark bids peace, we withdraw. We obey." Lynn drew Lady Forlorn an inch from scabbard. "But until that raven arrives, we remain a ghost in their periphery. Let them wonder how deep the Vale's talons pierce." "No, no, nar." In Red Keep corridors, Petyr Baelish closed the last stitch on a purse of thin-cut emeralds. He flicked dust from brocade and contemplated his newest calculation. A host of Vale knights poised to tip scales between Lannister and Stark. He held the Vale's gate revenues in careful ledgers. He knew Bronjean's debts, Lynn Corbray's vices, Grafton smugglers. Information could purchase fealty faster than coin. That evening he supped with Lord Giles Rosby, whose racking lungs granted long pauses for Littlefingers, whispered reassurances. A quiet deal with House Royce might secure the Erie's coin for royal coffers, relieve Giles of irksome taxes, and perhaps still those nights before their presence cost more blood than gold. Giles coughed crimson into linen, nodded between spasms. Littlefinger left the Rosby manse beneath a curtain of midnight rain, adjusting his feathered cap. The game grew richer. Each new player added possible configurations to exploit. Whether the hand steered the falcon or the queen loosed the lion, Baelish meant to profit. The city's wet cobbles clicked under his soft shoes like counting stones sliding swift. On the third day of Ned's tenure, Robert dragged him to the yard to spar with tourney lances. Rain had broken, leaving morning crisp and sky a brittle blue. The king sweated in gilded plate, laughter booming each time practice lance splintered upon Ned's shield. Courtiers applauded, children squealed. Yet Ned noted how Robert's paunch strained belts, how his left knee buckled after each charge. When at last both men staggered breathless, Robert waved Squire aside and poured wine straight from skin. "Ah, Ned," he gasped. "When did we get so damned old? You drink, you whore. You hunt boar bigger than sense." Ned rubbed bruised shoulder. "Wear and tear tells." Robert chuckled, then sobered. "Cersei hisses of rebels on the rivers. If your wives can march, tell me true." "They march, but not against you," Ned answered. "Lysa fears Lannister knives. She would shield us both. I've ordered her riders held." Robert wiped wine from beard. "You always the peacemaker." "Gods, I need that now." Men went stee. Across the yard, Joffrey lounged upon a bench of carved cedar. Sir Boros blount at his side. He watched his father's exertions with half-hidden disdain, whispering to Sandor Clegane, who spat onto flagstones. Ned met the boy's stare. Joffrey's lip curled, and he turned away. Robert sighed. "That boy. 7 help me. He's my true-born son, yet a stranger still. Perhaps war would make a man of him. Or a corpse." Ned spoke low, but Robert heard. He drained wine, grimaced, and stalked toward the armory without another word. That evening, Ned stood alone upon the tower of the hand balcony. King's Landing sprawled below, flickering lamps along the fishmonger's square, hush of Blackwater lapping muddy banks, rookeries croaking upon Sept spires. The air carried scent of lilac and sewage intertwined. A hush beside him smoothed into soft footfalls. He turned to find Cersei Lannister gilded by lantern glow, gown of green samite clinging like ivy upon sinuous bough. "My Lord Stark," she said, voice as cool as autumn trickle. "Your grace." Ned inclined stiffly. "I understand your sister-in-law musters a host upon my doorstep." She smiled without warmth. "Bold of her, would you agree? I've counseled caution. Her men will not tread king's soil unless warranted." Cersei's gaze flicked across the river of lights. "The Vale is high and proud, but pride topples quickly when walls close. Pray Lysa remembers her son's frailty before she sacrifices knights to some northern fever." Jon Arryn raised falcons that stand for honor. The queen's thin brows arched. "So he believed. Yet he lies cold in the crypts while lions yet roar." Ned's jaw clenched. "Your grace speaks plain. I will match candor. If any harm befalls innocent knights by royal command, I shall know whose hand signs the writ." Cersei stepped closer, perfume of crushed verbena curling like warm smoke. "And if talons strike first, I will stop them." For the briefest beat, green eyes held gray in silent reckoning. Then the queen's lashes swept down. She turned, gown whispering along stone. "See that you do." Her figure melted into corridor darkness, leaving fragrance and chill behind. At the holdfast north of the Antlers, dawn woke riders with bitter wind. Ravens circled low, croaking dire omens. Sir Dickon found Lynn Corbray perched atop crumbling parapet, scanning tree lines through a brittle dawn haze. "A bird from the hand," Dickon announced, offering parchment dyed. Lynn slit wax with dagger tip. Lines scratched in austere Stark script bade them hold position. Send no raider south, keep banners furloughed. Aid might be called, but only if threat proved. A boring command, Lynn said, sliding the letter into cloak. He gazed at distant city spires shimmering beyond green marshlands. Very well. We will wait and watch. Nandoan. He hopped from parapet, landing graceful as cat, though black plate clanged. Templeton. Seahorses watered, men drilled, archers double fletching. Steel may yet sing, and we must know every verse. In the city's slant-roofed maze, whispers of Vale knights reached the gold cloaks. Commander Janos Slint sallied forth to the small hall late one night, where Petir Baelish awaited with jug of strong wine and ledger of harbor tolls, ripe for reallocation. Over brimming cups they spoke of opportunity. Should Slint's men intercept certain riders, the hand might look kindly on their vigilance. Or the queen might, depending which name the commanders served at dawn. Littlefinger folded coin into commander's purse, each clink a silent promise. He did not say whom Janos must please. He did not need to. Ambiguity was the coin Baelish cherished most. 3 days after Ned took office, a raven reached River Run bearing his seal. Bronze Yon gathered captains within the solar where late sun striped panes with bands of russet gold. Caitlin sat to one side, Edmure pacing behind. Yon broke wax, eyes scanning swiftly. Then he exhaled. Sir Lynn is ordered to remain, no advance upon the city. We are to await fresh word. Edmure slapped a beam with open palm. We rot here while lions sharpen claws. Caitlin rose, voice calm but edged. My lord husband stands within those claws already. If he courts peace, we must not defy him. Her brother's shoulders sagged, frustration burning brighter than hearth fire. How many times must I watch silence embolden foes? Jan let silence hold a breath before speaking. If war comes, this host marches swift. Until then, we fortify lines of supply, recruit archers, ration grain. Battle chooses its own hour. We must be ready, not reckless. Edmure nodded grudging acceptance. Caitlin offered a weary smile of thanks. The meeting adjourned, captains filing out into twilight hush, while beyond heavy shutters, the tumblestone glimmered like molten copper. Caitlin lingered. Bronze Yon, thank you. Lysa's zeal blinds her. Yet perhaps my letters must be sterner. The old lord bowed head. Your sister loves fiercely. Fear twists that love into knives. We will keep them sheathed for now. Hall. Night fell hard upon King's Landing. Heat hung heavy despite spring's tender promise. In Ned's solar, the hand-studied ledger's Pycelle claimed proved grain shortfalls. Littlefinger insisted coffers ran dry. Renly argued a great tourney would lift spirits and fill inns with coin. Ned rubbed weary eyes. Tourneys cost more coin than they minted, yet to refuse might frame him joyless northerner, unfit for southern court. He stood at balcony's edge seeking solace in stars, but torch smoke blurred constellations. Footsteps approached. Ser Barristan Selmy bowed, white cloak whispering marble floor. My Lord Stark. Riders have been taken upon the King's Road. Ned straightened. Vale men? So reports Commander Slint. 3 prisoners wear falcon sigils. He holds them beneath the dragon pit. Order their release under my seal. Ser Barristan hesitated. The Queen has likewise commanded they be questioned by Lord Varys. Cold spread in Ned's chest. I will speak to the Queen. Selmy departed. Ned paced, heartbeat ringing like distant hammer on anvil. If Cersei sought pretext, captive Vale knights furnished it nicely. He seized cloak, strode from tower, boots echoing across stone. He found the Queen in a high gallery overlooking the throne room's vast emptiness, fire-glow painting pillars with wavering gold. Lannister guards flanked her, red cloaks apt as fresh-spilled blood. My knights have committed no crime, Ned said without preamble. Cersei's smile curled. Spies ride often under innocent banners. We must be thorough. They ride at my command. Then doubly curious. Perhaps even hands may err. Eo. Ned's hand closed about pommel of wolf's tooth. Release them, or I will take them. The guards stiffened. But the queen lifted languid fingers. "No need for steel. If you vouchsafe their virtue, they may go. Yet should they cause mischief, the blame is yours." Ned inclined head stiffly. Victory felt shallow. For each concession he rested. Cersei measured his edges. The 3 prisoners emerged from dragon pit cells at dawn, mud-streaked and gaunt. "Bagalier Royce Stark Serrals." Serrano Royce knelt before Ned in the yard. "We failed you, my lord, taken while scouting Rosby Road." "You did as ordered," Ned said. "Return to Sir Lynn. Tell him to hold." Ronald's eyes flashed with disquiet. "The Queen's men will hunt us." Ned clasped the knight's arm. "Ride swift. You carry my oath." They left by the river gate under cover of fish carts, falcon badges tucked beneath plain cloaks. Ned watched until city walls swallowed their silhouettes, then turned toward looming keep. One skirmish averted, yet tension climbed like ivy. In River Run Sept, Caitlin lit beeswax candles before statues of the 7. Shadows danced across her face. Quiet sorrow for a father dying, fear for husband amid plots, worry for sons in Winterfell. She prayed for peace, yet her heart heard drums of war thudding across distant hills. Outside, Bronze Yawn walked battlements, reading clouds. Pale streaks on western horizon foretold clearer skies. Day after next they could drill cavalry upon dry turf. He touched runes etched upon bronze vambrace. Ancestors whispering stoic counsel through ageless steel. Across the tumblestone, farmers bent to sprout green fields, unaware that hosts camped within arrow flight carried seeds of kingdom shift. A heron lifted from river shadows, broad wings scattering silver droplets into dawn. Jan watched it climb and vanish into brightening sky, unseen yet present. He wondered if such was the falcon's fate, hovering above while wolves and lions bared fangs below. At the eyrie, Lysa Arryn paced moon-marbled floor of the high hall, barefoot, nightgown trailing like mist. Each raven she received from Bronze Jan spoke of stillness, of Ned's counsel to wait. Yet still she tasted poison on every draught of air. Coleman urged patience. Robert's cough grew wet and racking, healer's syrups spilling down pale chin. Lysa pressed kiss to her son's damp brow and whispered that falcons stood sentinel, that foes would never reach him. She wrote again to Caitlin, quill digging grooves. "Trust not the lion's grace," she penned, "for claws hide beneath velvet. Bring Stark children north where sky cannot be scaled." She sealed wax with trembling fingers and sent the raven into night. Between Vale and Crownlands rose restless murmurs. Merchants paused at taverns to recount glimpsed companies wearing black plate etched with silver runes, eyes glinting like flint. Small folk whispered of knights who murdered sleeping patrols, though no corpses found. Myths outpaced men, but fear did real work, filling gossiping cups across the realm. Inside the Tower of the Hand, Ned sat before parchment lists of tourney expenses pressed upon him by Lord Renly. 22,000 gold dragons projected. The treasury could bear perhaps half if grain tariffs rose. Ned dipped quill, tapping lightly. A grand tilt might sway court favor, but the Vale host might starve for those coins. Bootfalls sounded. Arya burst through wooden doors, tunic smeared with river mud. "Father, I found a dancing master," she announced, brandishing a slender stick like rapier. He managed a weary smile. "And what steps has he taught?" She twirled once, jabbed air twice, laughed. For a moment court intrigue fell away, replaced by memory of winter days guiding tiny feet across frost-crusted courtyard. "Show me again," he said, and watched her movements light as falling leaves. When she left, Ned returned to accounts, yet her laughter lingered like hearth warmth. He realized then what war would cost beyond coin and blood. At the Antlers Holdfast, a young archer named John Linderley sighted movement west along treeline. He called quietly, torches smothered, men readied bows. A lone figure emerged, hands raised, Jory Castle, bearing the hand's sigil and sealed scroll. Corbray read the letter beside guttering stub of candle. "Hold another fortnight, remain unseen." Lynn's chuckle echoed in empty courtyard. "Stark truly seeks to strangle tension with silk cord." He burned the missive, ashes spiraling into star-rich night. Then he summoned captains. "We dig trenches here facing east and south," he ordered. "We craft dummy tents along marsh fringe to mask numbers. Forage lightly, leave coin behind. If gold cloaks near, melt into wood. We are whisper, not storm, until the hand cries havoc." Dickon Templeton frowned. "Some men thirst for battle. They may not contain edge." Lynn's dark eyes gleamed. "Then remind them a blade unsheathed without sanction dulls quick and dies quicker." Inside the city walls, Queen Cersei ordered double patrols along River Road, gold cloaks reinforced with Lannister men in crimson enamel. Commander Slint obeyed, though grumbled. Writs of authority from both Queen and Hand lay upon his desk like twin vipers eyeing one another. The first clash came not of steel, but of coin. Crown wagons bound for grain markets in Rosby found roadblocks of Corbray sentries, who taxed half the cargo for Vale toll. Angered merchants petitioned small council. Littlefinger argued smugglers likely forged toll receipts. Varys hinted highwaymen wore no falcon. Each tale obscured truth just enough for doubt to fracture trust. Robert, weary of debate, barked for more ale and threatened to ride out himself, bare-chested, and chase brigands with his hammer. Cersei rolled eyes. Ned counseled restraint but commissioned letters to Bronze Jan to investigate impostors. 70 miles upriver, a crippled fisherman pulled skiff through willows thick with buzzing midges. Behind Bent Reed, Hidden Vale scouts watched unseen. The fisherman carried no weapon but a rusty knife. They let him pass, their vow to invisibility unbroken. Yet disease rose in marsh air. Heat breeding fevers among northern horses, unused to warm swamps. Healers crushed willow bark and river mint, binding pulp upon swollen fetlocks, while dark wings of herons flapped overhead. Sir Lynn ordered water barrels scrubbed with quicklime, latrines dug deeper. His caution spared many, but not all. 2 squires succumbed to ague with insane sun, shrouded in coarse-woven blankets and buried beneath drift of pine needles. The camp bowed heads as service was read, soft words scattering like dandelion seeds upon evening hush. War's quiet reaping had begun. Meanwhile, River Run's host found momentary harmony when a shipment of Gulltown oats arrived by river barge. Bakers set to kneading dough, and scent of fresh bread drifted along curving battlements. Bronze Yawn allowed half-day of rest. Men sang songs of fractious clan battles along High Road, of maidens with snow-bright eyes, of winged knights who crossed moonlight to kiss their loves. Caitlin walked among cook-fires carrying earthen pitchers of watered wine. Soldiers bowed, some murmuring thanks, others staring in awe at Tully Maiden, grown Lady Regent. She smiled, though weight pressed upon her spine like armor. Wherever she passed, she heard snippets, the lion massing at Harrenhal, Baratheon coffers empty, blackfish raising scouts along Stonehenge. Hearsay, yet each thread wove tapestry grim. In the capital, Pycelle's ravens piled high with northern ledgers, Ned demanded. Past harvest yields, toll receipts, household accounts of handship left chaotic by John Arryn's death. Amid feathered clutter he discovered a single fragment, a parchment containing lists of bastards King Robert had sired in city brothels, scribbled in John Arryn's own hand. Beside each name, the late hand had penned cryptic annotations. Hair color, eye hue, details Ned recognized as seeds of some deeper inquiry. He folded the scrap into doublet and mulled its meaning. Why had John tallied royal bastards? Did answer lie behind sudden death? So too did Lysa's fury speak of conspiracies. Ned's path tangled deeper than host marches. That night, a masked figure darted through alleys below Rainey's Hill, cape fluttering behind. Gold cloaks shouted, blades rattled. A thief? Spy? None saw the dagger until moonlight kissed its edge, and a watchman cried out. Crumpling into gutter, the shadow fled to rooftops, vaulted coops, vanished into labyrinth of slate. At dawn the corpse lay stiff, eyes wide, throbbing rumor into city's pulse. A killer prowled, wearing no sigil but death. Ned saw the body, cloak of dull blue, undergarb plain, not a veil, men-at-arms. Yet suspicion grew. nurtured by those who needed it. Cersei visited her father's solar in the Tower of the Hand's shadow, though Tywin Lannister stood leagues away. She smelled lemon oil on carved cedar, saw the city beyond arched window glow under morning haze. Anger coiled her gut like adder. She penned a letter south to Casterly Rock, urging her lord father to march. Robert's rein frayed, falcons dove, wolves circled. Only the lion's bite could decide the board. Days blurred into a tapestry of small crises. Ned dismissed Littlefinger's grand tourney, trimmed expense to modest joust and melee, enough to set Robert's hunger for sport without draining coffers. The king grumbled, but accepted, already planning to dress Arya in ribbons to watch her sister's betrothed shine. One dusk Ned joined Ser Barristan at White Sword Tower, sharing quiet conversation on honor. Selmy spoke of vows, of wars past, of how one held fast to oaths, though kings changed like seasons. Ned listened, mind returning to Vale host, waiting his word. Could he uphold oaths to king and kin if the two collided? As they parted, Selmy clasped Ned's forearm. "Trust steel you sharpen yourself," the old knight said, "and hearts you know from snowbound cradle." Ned nodded, though doubt stirred like wind across winter graves. Outside the city, Lyn Corbray walked silent among sleeping horses. Moonlight traced silver across Lady Forlorn's bare blade. He stopped, lifted sword, watched stars reflect along dark steel. Somewhere east, across damp glades, a stag barked. "Soon," he whispered to the night. "Soon the song begins." He sheathed blade, and the hush closed round again, thick as secret. At first light, a raven beat weary wings above River Run. Perched atop broken tower, it croaked as bronze yawn untied scroll. Ned's fresh letter bore heavier words. "Tensions mount. Hold position but ready swift march if Lannisters rouse. Watch Harrenhal in God's eye. I counsel peace, but brace for storm." Yawn showed Caitlin, who paled. "Harrenhal," she breathed. She remembered tournament there years past, remembered her sister Lysa flushed with new love, her betrothed tall and just. Now fortress rose monstrous, perhaps harboring lion banners. "Edmure must send scouts," she declared, voice steel. Jan agreed. The Blackfish rode out by dusk with vanguard of river knights, banners furled beneath dust-colored cloaks. Deep within Maegor's holdfast, Very stood by a rack of scented oils, listening to a girl-child recount how gold cloaks muttered of Vale spies buying maps from dockhands. He thanked her, pressed coin, and considered. War of whispers raged hotter than swords. He must shape them lest truth drown in lies. Ned, weary, closed his eyes before dawn-fire hearth. He saw Robert bright with wine, Cersei coiled, Joffrey's empty sneer, hosts camped along rivers, the wall far north where Jon Snow faced utter darkness. How many fronts could one man guard? Footsteps rustled. A boy of 12, dark hair, water seller's ragged tunic, approached. He carried sealed twist of parchment. "From Lord Stannis, Lord," he whispered. Ned sat up sharply. Stannis had left court months earlier in silent fury. He broke seal. Within, Stannis spoke of bastards hidden in city, of lineages, of crimes that crowned princes dared not reveal. It echoed Joan's notes, hinting at treason deeper than petty plots, legitimacy of heirs. Ned's breath caught. If Joffrey's claim faltered, the realm cracked. Vale Knights might be first quake of larger shattering. He pushed defeat. Game changed. Pieces unstable. He must tread path of truth undone by blood and lies. He looked to dawn creeping pale across window. Below, King's Landing stirred, unaware how near tremors ran beneath cobbled streets. Ned Stark squared shoulders. Before sun set again, he would seek Gendry at the smithy in the gutter alleys, would chase one more whisper of Baratheon's seed. Yet in distant marsh, Lyn Corbray rolled dice on upturned helm, while men argued odds of which lord would draw first blood. At River Run, Edmure watched northward sky flush rosy, praying banners along Twin stayed still. And in Erie's chill, Lysa rocked her son. singing lullaby half broken with tears. All unknowingly they waited on same breath. The realms shared inhalation before storm's first crack. Die. The dawn when Eddard Stark first set foot in Tabo Mott's forge came soft and rosy, the air of the city washed clean by night rain. The shop crouched in the shadow of the street of steel, its soot-black eaves glistening like wet raven wings. Ned ducked beneath the low lintel as a swirl of furnace heat slapped his face, thick with the odor of coal and red-hot iron. Sparks hissed in flurries across beaten clay floors, stinging like hornets on exposed skin. Tabo himself, forged broad in arm and chest, Cassini's braid bound high upon bolt crown, halted mid-hammer blow when he saw the hand's direwolf cloak. He bowed, sweat streaking soot on his parchment cheeks. "My Lord Stark." Ned inclined his head. "I come seeking your apprentice, the sturdy boy with the bull's helm." Tabo's eyes flicked toward deeper gloom beyond the smithy's rear arch. "Gendry, fetch water," he called. Echoing clank answered. Ned waited, heart drumming. Gendry appeared, taller than Ned remembered from Robert's last tourney, shoulders thick beneath coarse linen. Curling black hair clung damp to his brow. Bright blue eyes widened at the sight of the hand, but he did not kneel. He set the sloshing bucket beside anvil and wiped hands on leather apron. "Your craftsmanship," Ned said, "speaks for itself." He nodded toward a breastplate studded with golden inlay. "How long apprenticed?" 6 years, Lord Gendry answered, voice deep yet wary. "Since I was old enough to swing a hammer straight." Ned studied the boy. Heavy jaw, straight Baratheon nose, eyes the summer sky of Storm's End. Blood thrummed in Ned's ears. "Your mother, did she speak of your father?" Gendry frowned, wiped a soot smudge with the heel of a scarred hand. "'Twas a tavern wench from the Peach, she told me. Said my father was brown-haired and liked to drink. Paid her good silver before riding off." He shrugged as though the memory belonged to someone else. Yet beneath the shrug Ned glimpsed something fierce and lonely. "I see," Ned said softly. Memory tugged. Robert half drunk in the Red Keep Solar, boasting of a blacksmith's girl with coal-bright eyes. Ned forced himself back to present. "If ever you wish a place in my service, the gates of Winterfell stand open." Gendry's brow furrowed, half gratitude, half confusion. "I serve Master Tabo. He feeds me well. S you like." Ned turned, voice sinking to flint as he faced the smith. "Say nothing of my visit, not to the queen, not to her men, not to anyone." "I understand," Tabo murmured. His eyes, sharp as tongs, flicked sideways. Fear and something like pride. Ned strode into the watery light of morning, throat tight. He had confirmed enough. Jon Arryn's warning took shape. The seed is strong. Robert's bastards bore the dark hair of House Baratheon, while Joffrey's bright gold told its own tale. In the turning of a breath, Ned felt the realm's pillars quake beneath him. Outside, the city buzzed with daybreak commerce. Donkey carts groaned under sacks of wool. Potters hawked clay cups, still steaming from kilns. Sellsword captains drank cheap wine at corner stalls and argued over contracts in slurred Volantene. Yet every shout seemed distant. Ned walked as one haunted, replaying the queen's thin smile. Littlefinger's smirks, Varys' sighing courtesy. He reached the Tower of the Hand by mid-morning, boots echoing along polished corridors. Inside his solar he found Maester Pycelle delivering scroll-tied ledgers to 2 clerks. The old man bowed, beard draped like marble ivy across ribs. Ned dismissed the scribes and closed the door. "Maester," he said, "I require a list of all known children fathered by King Robert, legitimate or otherwise, and their present whereabouts. Discretion is vital." Pycelle's watery eyes flickered behind the curtain of beard. "But my lord, such records lie scattered. Many mothers never declare." "Search," Ned said, low in iron. "Send ravens, pay midwives. I want what Jon Arryn sought when he died." Maester swallowed. "Yes, you command." Ned watched him shuffle out, then moved to the lattice window. South of the city, sun-speared marsh shimmered, hiding Lyn Corbray's encampment somewhere in reed-thick silence. Ned's next letter would bid them steal north of the Trident, beyond Cersei's immediate reach. But he must move soon. Each day sharpened the Queen's suspicion. Behind him, the door creaked again. Little fingers slipped inside, airy as breeze, a roll of parchment in hand. "Lord Stark," he sang, "our modest joust bleeds into sizable spectacle. Knights flock to King's Landing like flies to honey. Their purses will fatten the master of coin." "I trust you will skim your share," Ned said, weary. Petter's grin flickered. "Only what courtesy demands." He leaned against the carved desk, eyes bright as cut emerald. "Rumor says the knights of the Vale squat north of us, like a broody hen. Might the hen know why?" "They watch," Ned answered. "Nothing more. Watches may become claws." Her grace frets. "I stand ready to unclasp the falcon's talons if you wish." His fingers danced delicate, measured steps. "Keep them folded." Ned's tone brooked no argument. He lifted stark-gray eyes that Petter's smile skidded away from. "Your joust, 2,000 gold dragons. No more. 5 might secure greater sport. 2 or none." Littlefinger sighed, rolled the parchment, and bowed with exaggerated flourish. "As the north commands, so south obeys." Speaking of numbers, the master armorer at the Dragon Gate requests coin for extra spearheads. Ned dismissed him with a curt wave. Petter slipped out, humming. When door clicked shut, Ned sagged into high-back chair. How many vipers twined the Iron Throne's legs? He looked to a corner where ice rested in its oaken sheath. Leather smelled faintly of snowmelt and pine, a far comfort from the stench of court. He was still staring when Jory entered mid-afternoon bearing news from the harbor. A Lannister galley out of Lannisport slipped anchor at King's Landing with 100 mounted men. Sir Kevin rode at their head, gold breastplate flashing like new coin. "So now the Rock sends more lions," Ned murmured. "Robert will call this reinforcement. The Queen calls it protection. Either way, steel thickens around us." Jory nodded. "Shall we tighten our watches?" "Double them. If Lannisters stalk our alleys, we must know first." Jory hesitated, then added, "A note also arrived, my lord. From Blackfish Tully." Ned took the missive, breaking trout seal. Bryndon's terse script reported lion banners massing at Harrenhal under command of Sir Adam Marbrand. 5,000 foot, some knights, gathering stores enough for siege. The Blackfish shadowed them along wooded valleys, counting wagons and smithfires, but no order of march yet revealed. Ned's pulse quickened. Harrenhal stood at the mouth of 3 roads. East to King's Landing, north to River Run, west to the Gold Road. Tywin Lannister poised his claw, and Robert, lost to hunt and wine, saw none of it. He reached for quill, unrolled fresh parchment, and began drafting messengers. One to Bronze Yawn. "Be ready to ride east of God's Eye if Lion Host moves." One to Sir Lyn. "Scout the King's Road nightly. Intercept word of Harrenhal's stir." One to Caitlin. Warnings wrapped in love, urging calm but preparing her for siege. Hours later, ravens beat wings into late sun. Black motes against golden sky. Bronze Yon Roy stood upon the Green Fork's western bank, wind tugging bronze-ringed surcoat. Before him the river ran swift, swollen by spring melt. Across, retreating foothills sloped gentle toward misty blue ridges. Scouts had sighted smoke plumes, raiders or roving Frey levies. The Lord's brow knit dyed hue. Maester Coleman trotted up on a shaggy chestnut, parchment flapping. "Raven from the hand, my lord." Royce read, lips tight. "Harrenhal stirs," he told the maester. "Marbrand, perhaps Gregor Clegane, gather for war." He gazed west, where towers of River Run poked above tree line. "We cannot wait endless." Yet Ned Stark still counsels caution. He mounted his dapple-gray stallion. "Send riders to salt pans, purchase dried smoked eel, pack flour. If lion banners move, we cross the Trident in 2 days." "Nehr." Coleman inclined his head, but worry creased his brow. "Our grain stores? Find more." Roy spurred his horse, iron shoes splashing river's edge as he turned back to camp. Night found River Run alive with hammer blows. Armorers repaired mail. Fletchers trimmed ash shafts. Beneath lanterns, Edmure Tully drilled pike militia. Farm lads from Acorn Hall, miller's sons, potboys.g. He barked orders, but his gaze often flicked southwest, towards the path his uncle scouted. Behind that gaze lay dread of another River Run siege. Inside Lord Hoster's chamber, the elder's breath rattled. Caitlin sat vigil, stroking parchment-thin hand. She whispered of Edmure's resolve, of Rob's letters from Winterfell, of fishes leaping silver at dawn. Anything to soothe a mind drifting like leaf on stream. Suddenly, Hoster's eyelids fluttered. "Tansy," he breathed, voice a sigh. Tears glittered in Caitlin's eyes. "I am here, father," she whispered. But the old lord slipped again into fevered dreaming. At the Eyrie, Lysa Arryn conferred with Nestor Royce atop battlements frosted by high cloud shadow. "Lord Nestor, you say the clans mass near the Stonecow's Vale?" "Aye, my lady," Royce replied, fingering well-oiled mustache. "Burned men, moon brothers, all gathering. They sent passage vacated by our knights. Fewer patrols embolden them." Lysa's lips thinned. "Send a sortie. Drive them back." "I will not have their filth near my son." Nestor hesitated. "Our garrison runs thin." Ser Vardis rode with the host. The clans could harry us for moons. Lysa's gaze hardened like late-season ice. "Then bribe them. Gold, steel, whatever stills their lust." But the Eyrie remains inviolate. Behind her, Robert, pale as snowdrop, toddled under the stern watch of two knights. He clutched cloth falcon and muttered, "Fly away, fly!" Lysa turned, gathering him in arms. "Soon, sweetling," she crooned. "The bad men cannot climb so high." In her eyes blazed both mother love and madness. Ned Stark's investigation wound deeper. He visited Shatia's silk house beneath lanterns of purple glass, questioned a narrow-shouldered girl named Bara, whose babe nursed with dark tufted hair. He spoke to old Will, the potboy, now a cobbler, whose lord father had pressed copper to keep him silent. Everywhere he found black hair, blue eyes, Baratheon marks. Each name carved a truth he could not ignore. He confided only in Sir Barristan Selmy and in Lord Stannis' letter. The Lord Commander listened, white cloak motionless, and when Ned finished, Selmy's lined face seemed older still. "If it be treason," the old knight said, "our vows compel us to king and crown. Yet, what is crown if blood that claims it proves false?" "In justice," Ned answered quietly, "must wear no colors. But justice seldom rules courts," Selmy murmured. He rose, clasped Ned's arm. "Honor leans heavy, Lord Stark. Do not bear it alone." That night, Ned penned scroll to Stannis on Dragonstone, urging haste to court. Stannis' stern sense of duty might sway Robert, if Robert sobered long enough to see. But the raven never lifted wing. For Littlefinger entered before it was sealed, breathless. "Your Grace, pardon, my lord," he corrected with grin. "Urgent news. Tyrion Lannister rides for the city." The imp left the wall, detained at the Crossroads Inn by Lady Catelyn herself, if rumor speaks true. "No." Ned's heart lurched. "Catelyn sees Tyrion. So they say. She leads him toward the Vale, by high road." Petter's smile shimmered with faint amusement. "Risky, no." Ned gripped desk hard. His wife's choice could ignite war faster than any host. "Send riders," he ordered Jory a moment later. "Warn Catelyn, escort the dwarf but shed no blood." Jory bowed, but his eyes betrayed doubt. The Vale's mountain way crawled with clans. By the time his riders found them, iron might have spilled. News struck Red Keep like forked lightning. Queen Cersei's fury blistered servants. Joffrey raved. Sir Kevan tightened gauntlets. Jaime paced ramparts. Council convened at once. Varys fluttered warnings of castle riders abroad. Pycelle quoted ancient laws of guest right. Dato. Robert, with fresh bruises from the practice yard, pounded fist until wine sloshed. "She's taken my wife's brother," he roared. "Seven hells, Ned. Are we at war with your wife's house?" "Catelyn acts from fear," Ned said, meeting the king's bloodshot eyes. "Tyrion was seen with a dagger meant for my boy." Jaime snorted. "Such fables bore." "Silence," Robert thundered. He wiped sweat from neck and glared at Ned. "Bring me Lannister and Stark by evenfall. Talk, not blades, ends this." "But Catelyn is leagues away," Ned began. "Then send Raven." "Gods, I hate ravens." Robert sagged into throne-like chair. "You'll both keep peace, or I'll have heads on spikes, I swear." Cersei's lips twisted. Words cheap as ale. Ned saw Jaime's hand drift towards sword. Swift glance from Kevin stilled it. The council dispersed under dark thundercloud. Outside, Ned found Littlefinger lingering. "Storms mount," Petter cooed. "A good time for prudent men to buy flooded grain fields." Ned ignored him. Strides quick. He must right Lysa, Jon, Lyn. Must prevent the Falcons' dive becoming massacre. In reed-choked marsh, Sir Lyn's scouts captured 2 gold cloaks skulking near picket lines. Interrogation beneath dew-damp canvas revealed orders from Slint. "Map the camp, numbers, commanders." Lyn bound them, blindfolded, and sent them south with warning arrows lodged near their saddles. "Tell Slint we watch." His note read, "And see clearer in dark than his cats in torchlight." He allowed his men a rare laugh, then doubled sentries. "When lions roar, those cloaks will change colors quick enough," he told Templeton. That same night, thunderheads boiled black above the city. Crimson lightning stabbed clouds, casting eerie glare across Blackwater Rush. From bastion windows, Cersei watched storms gather, mood mirrored. She penned urgent missive to her father, sealed with golden wax, dispatched on fastest galley to Sunspear where rumor placed Tywin. Queen or not, she craved the rock's mailed fist. Crossroads of fate narrowed miles north in the mountain passes. Catelyn's party, 24 loyal river knights, 6 Vale men, the dwarf in chains, climbed goat paths beneath looming crags. Each switchback reeked of peril. Rock slides, arrow slits in cliff shadows, whistling javelins from burned men. Shagga and his stone crows staged attack at Midnight Ridge. Brambles slowed the dwarf's mule, but Bronn the sellsword parried blades. Marillion's lute strings snapped to strangle a tribesman. By dawn, 3 of Catelyn's escort bled out upon shale. They pressed onward, terror threading each step. At the bloody gate, Sir Donal Waynwood welcomed them through iron-bound oak. But clans gave chase even onto airy slopes. Tyrion's knowing smirk seldom waned. "My sister will answer," he hissed to Catelyn when guards shoved him into Skycell. Falcons fall when lions leap. Lysa greeted her sister with manic relief, then pivoted to wrath. "You bring the lion to my nest." They argued through tears while Robert shrieked for the dwarf to fly. Maester Coleman's protests drowned in hysteria. News raced down mountain with ravens. Lysa abducted the queen's brother. Bronzion's camp erupted. Men clamored for orders. Edmure cursed roof beams. Ned Stark, reading the message by torchlight, felt an icy fist close around his heart. War bells tolled across the realm. Sliding across Duskwaters, Grafton's galleys from Gulltown sailed upriver bearing more archers and kegs of salt beef for Royce's host. Fishmongers on docks muttered that taxes doubled overnight. Some blamed Tully greed. Others Lannister blockade threats. Yet to soldiers, the barrels meant life. Bronzion met Captain Hal Mertens on the wharf. "Any sign of lion ships?" Jon asked. "None," Mertens said, beard beaded with spray. "But tides shift." Royce nodded. "Ready sails. If Tywin's fleet appears, we must scatter like trout." He turned to camp, where thousands drilled beneath red gold sky. Shields gleamed, throats roared Vale war cries. A storm indeed, but one he would meet steel-bared. In the Red Keep gardens, Sansa Stark walked with Septa Mordane, excitement bubbling over the coming joust. She spoke of Sir Loras' beauty, of gillyflower garlands. From hedges, Sandor Clegane watched, scowl carved permanent. Arya stalked sparrows with wooden sword, muddying skirts until guard dragged her off for washing. All the while Varys observed from stone bench, features serene. He fed crumbs to doves, though his mind tallied sharpened knives. If lions warred with falcons, doves risked trample, yet a spider might weave silk ladders to safety. He rose, robes whispering silk on gravel, and made for Maegor's dark halls, where secrets multiplied like rats. Tonight, he must ensure the boy Gendry found new employment. In flea-bottom sewers, where queen's men rarely tread. The joust began beneath a sky bright as hammered brass. Lords and ladies thronged wooden stands. Banners rippled. Tyrell rose, Martell sun spear, Arryn falcon though its host lay absent. Robert, bloated and ruddy, cracked jokes with Renly. Cersei's mouth curved smugly at Loras's triumphs. Squires scurried. Pageantry gleamed. For a breath, war seemed rumor only. Ned sat rigid beside the king, eyes scanning. He saw Jory Castle talking with Barristan near the list. Saw gold-fastened cloak of Janos Slynt conferring with Kevan Lannister. Saw Littlefinger whisper to a Braavosi banker in sable. Threads wove thicker by the heartbeat. In final tilt, Sir Loras unhorsed Sir Jaime. Crowd erupted. Jaime rose laughing, gold hair spangled with dirt, yet his sapphire eyes shot dagger glances at Tyrell. Cersei's lips thinned. Night feast followed, torches spitting sparks. Bard sang. Robert drank cask after cask until speech slurred. Ned used lull to press urgent words. Send riders after Cat. Command her return dwarf unharmed. Else Tywin marches. Bepstar. Robert waved drunkenly. Aye. Tomorrow. He stumbled toward the Queen's pavilion, leaving Ned to swallow frustration. That same star-strewn night, Tyrion Lannister stood at Skycell's yawning edge, moon hanging vast beyond. Wind howled through bars, tugging linen shirt. He studied abyss below, then stepped back with shiver. A jailer entered, tray of lamprey pie. Comfortable? The man sneered. I prefer different view, Tyrion said, dry. Perhaps one without drop to oblivion. The jailer guffawed and left. Tyrion slowed breath. Soon, Bronn would propose trial by combat. Mountain clans might accept gold. Pieces on board shifted. Tyrion played his own game, waiting for chance to topple Arryn pride. Morning-crowned kings landing with red sun. Ned wakened to rap at door. Jory, face grim. Message from Lord Jon, my lord. Scouts confirm Lannister van moves east from Harrenhal. Ned's pulse hammered. How many? 3,000 horse, double that foot. Sir Adam leads. Banners for Clegane, Payne, Lefford. Send Raven to Robert. Then to River Run. Hold fast, prepare. He paced. Find the king. Where? Jory hesitated. Hunting, beyond the Kingswood. The queen rides too. Ned cursed softly. With Robert lost to hunt and drink, he must act. He strode to council chambers, summoned Pycelle, Varys, Littlefinger. Ray's city watched a full alert. He ordered Slynt, who arrived puffing. No Lannister arms enter without my leave. Gold buys many doors, Lord Hand, Slynt said. Then pay your men more. Winterfell silver stands ready. Ned signed script. Baelish's smile flickered. Good coin or risk of stark thrashing? He bowed acceptance. Varys stroked oiled scalp. The queen shall object. The queen may petition the king. Ned dismissed them. He felt ice weight on back wall. Considered wearing it openly. Too soon. At River Run, Brongion ordered trumpets, ford river. Vale host broke camp at dawn like iron wave. Shields flashed in long rippling lines. Banners snapped. Runestone, Redfort, Corbry. Wind carrying war's first howl. Edmure rode at Yon's right, bright trout on cobalt rippling. Behind, supply wagons groaned. Smith carts clanged deeper than thunder. Catelyn watched from parapet, heart torn. She sent prayer to the seven, to old river gods, to any listening. Her world balanced on blade's edge. As the falcon flew, Tywin Lannister received his daughter's raven at Casterly Rock. He read, face unmoved, then snapped fingers. Ser Stafford, Sir Adam bore orders within hour. The army at Harrenhal would cross the Trident, Harry Tullylands, draw falcon from Eyrie. He would sit apart, golden spider in west, until prey exhausted. Meanwhile, Gregor Clegane gathered 500 heavy riders at the headwaters of the Blackwater. Torches blazing, midnight bright. His laughter rumbled, low and murderous. Back in the city, Ned convened small council, without Robert. Cersei arrived clad in forest green riding leathers, dust on boots. "My lord husband hunts," she said. "We shall proceed." Ned laid John Arryn's parchment upon the table, each name inked bold. The late hand died asking why Robert's bastards bear his true coloring. "I now ask the same." Cersei's smile froze. "Bastards, 8 living. All with black hair, blue eyes. Unlike Prince Joffrey." Ned's voice cut. "I charge no treason. Yet. But I seek truth." Kevin Lannister half rose. "Insult." Pycelle coughed, beard quivering. Varys watched, expression blank. Cersei's voice dropped to whisper. "Withdraw this madness. Stark or suffer. For the realm's sake, I must pursue." He looked each counselor in eye. "If Robert returns, he will hear this from me tonight." Cersei stood, emerald eyes fierce. "Then pray he returns alive." She swept from chamber, silk trailing. Ned's blood chilled. He dismissed the council, mind racing. If Cersei moved before Robert returned, she might seize throne. He needed proof, allies. He strode to the rookery, choosing fastest raven. Scroll board Stannis. "Come with fleet, bring proof, the crown is in peril." He sealed wax, watched the bird launch into sun-bleached sky. South of the Kingswood, Robert's party blundered through dense underbrush, boar hounds yelping. The king, half hungover, swayed in saddle. Cersei rode behind, smile faint. When hounds bayed treed boar, Robert dismounted, stumbled with spear. No one saw the squire pour sweet wine as he stalked. The queen's eyes lingered upon flask. Sun dipped. Horn blasts echoed. A scream cracked air. Lancel rushed to find Robert gored, belly torn. Blood-soaked green moss. "Help!" he shouted, but the queen reined horse, face white. Cersei knelt, pressed cloth. Too little. Robert's eyes rolled. He murmured Ned's name. A wine-soaked skin lay discarded. Court surgeon bound wounds. They hauled him back by litter through dusk shadows, each jolt spilling more life. Ned, alerted at gate, rushed to bay of the Red Keep as litter arrived. He felt time stop. Robert, pale, sweat-slick, lips flecked. "Old friend," the king gasped, breath rattling. "Write it. You shall rule till Joffrey of age." Blood bubbled at mouth. "Promise me." Ned clasped his hand. "I will serve, to keep the realm safe." Robert nodded, eyes glazing. "Kill the girl. Dragon. Misa." Words fractured. He slipped into dark. Grand Maester Pycelle ushered Ned aside. "He may not see sunrise." Cersei pulled Ned into privy chamber. "He named me regent. Stark. You will draft the letter." "I will draft his words," Ned said. He penned quickly, but where Robert said, "Joffrey," Ned wrote, "rightful heir." He hoped to forestall Queen's wrath until Stannis arrived. Robert sealed with trembling mark. Cersei snatched parchment, unread, and left. Ser Barristan followed with white cloak swirling, eyes wet. Ned found Varys in corridor. "Send riders to Sir Lyn. March at once to King's Landing, but keep order. Tell Royce to harry Lannister vanguard, but no massacre." Varys bowed low. "The spider weaves." Petyr cornered Ned on stair. "Bold strokes, friend. Yet parchment makes brittle shield. The queen moves." "I have steel," Ned said. "And how many swords?" "Gold cloaks, pocket my coin." Littlefinger's grin widened. "Trust me. Tomorrow you'll need inside line. Meet me at first light." Ned nodded warily. Trust Baelish? No choice, perhaps. He returned to his chambers, found Sansa praying, Arya sharpening needle. He embraced them, told them pack at dawn. They would sail north soon. Arya frowned. But I'm to learn water dancing. Later. Little one. Sansa protested softer. I am Mary Joffrey. We shall see. Ned's heart broke. Gray twilight draped Vale host as they crossed the Red Fork, hooves thundering on fords of stone. Bronze Jan rode at point, helmet plumed bronze. He raised fist. Column halted. On opposite shore banners of River Run fluttered. Edmure's outriders greeted them. Lion host burned granaries north of Pink Maiden. Smoke smudged skyline. Royce swore. He ordered columns pivot northwest. To shoulder, Lion vanguard. Behind them, wagons creaked. A lumbering statement of resolve stretching miles. Above, twin flocks of ravens circled. Black augury eyed. Maester Coleman penned updates with numbed fingers. In Erie's high hall, Tyrion's trial convened. Stone benches packed with Vale lords. Lysa presided, Robert on lap, drooling. Tyrion demanded trial by combat. Bronn volunteered. Ser Vardis Aiken accepted as champion. Duel flashed in flicker of braziers. Bronn danced lean and quick. Egan, noble but slower, fell beneath slash across throat. Blood sprayed white moon floor. Lysa shrieked. Robert giggled. Tyrion went free, clans at his heels, pockets heavy with Lannister gold, bound for Sky Road and war. When Raven bore news to King's Landing, Queen's smile returned. My brother rides with clans, wolves and birds shall howl, she purred. Ned woke before dawn. Snowwolf cloak about him, and made for Baelish's rendezvous. Fog clung to streets. Gold cloaks escorted Petyr and Ned to Armory Courtyard. Slint waited, ranks of watch behind. Ned stepped forward, to swearing oaths of loyalty, he believed. Littlefinger rested gentle hand on Ned's shoulder. I did warn you, he sighed, as gold cloaks pivoted blades toward Stark men. Jory's cry rose, but too late. Watch seized Ned's guards, shackled their wrists. Slint presented the hand, bound to Queen Regent. Cersei stood in balustrade's pale light. Lord Eddard, she called, voice carrying like sword ring. I thank you for your service. It ends. She nodded. Slint shoved Ned to knees. Littlefinger knelt, whispered in Ned's ear. I told you not to trust me. Cold iron kissed Ned's throat. Yet above walls, faint thunder rolled, the Vale host? No, drums of city barricades locking. Across narrow sea of rooftops, dawn bled fast. Ned gazed skyward. He pictured Robb by hearth, Jon atop wall, Catelyn riding war-torn road, Arya's fierce scowl, Sansa's soft tears, Bran's dream. He breathed deep. Even in chains he would not yield. Far away, Bronzion's cavalry broke line scouts at Red Fork Ford. Ser Lyn's riders slipped through postern of River Gate at dusk. 500 strong cloaked as merchants, ready to strike when word given. In north, Winterfell banners stirred. In Dragonstone, Stannis' fleet raised anchor. And upon Casterly Rock, Tywin's gold eyes narrowed at Raven's tidings. Storm broke. The game, long played in whispers, at last bared steel.